Hey, what's up everybody? Lawler here. About a week ago, I ended up putting out a video about how an OWL franchise was looking to join Rocket League, primarily in field and team, into the RLCS. And there was obviously some confusion with it on my behalf, and I gotta immediately say I apologize. There was some misinformation provided in that video, and have a lot of stuff to clarify about the event, what it's going to be, and some of the stuff. Still have some concerns, but now that more of the information has come out, which I should have just waited for in the first place, it might become a little bit more refined than what people think. Also, alongside that, I reached out to the operations director over at the Houston Outlaws and ended up having an interview with him, which will be included in this video at the end as well. With that said, let's get straight into it. What's up everybody, Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. As I mentioned in the intro, I've got to make some clarifications on misinformation. When the original information came out through an article post, there was a lot of things that didn't line up about the schedule and then everything else. And that's my bad. I should have just waited a little bit to make sure that stuff made more sense. But obviously I want to get that information out to you guys as quickly as possible. I should have just bit my tongue. I'm waiting on other stuff. Might as well wait on this stuff as well. So I'll try to do better in the future. For clarification, to actually talk about the involvement with PAX, it's in partnership with PAX Arena's stream. So the event will be showcased on PAX's Twitch, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, all their socials, but it will not actually be an event held in person, which makes sense for the dates. With the finals and everything, like I mentioned, coming up in August, the event of PAX is actually 2 weeks after that, and that's why that confusion comes into place. So as a final clarification, it is in partnership with PAX and PAX Arena, which is where the broadcast will be held, but it will not be at the live event of PAX West that is supposed to be in person. Just to keep that in mind, everything will be held online. On for what the event is itself, there's a couple things to pay attention to. If you guys want to follow along with what's actually happening, you can do so at BE Rocket League, or Beasley Rocket League is the Twitter handle that they'll be using. So at BE Rocket League. And some more questions as well in specific detail will be held in the interview later. But as for the event itself, you can actually find the tournament page, and signups are live right now. So if you guys want a chance to go and sign up and compete, by all means do so. Links to everything I'm talking about is in the description down below. If you guys want a chance at a $15,000 salary per month, I assume that's going to be split between the people. We'll talk about that more in the interview later. So they put out on Smash GG, which is the website that the signups are being held up on. It says the search for the next Rocket League team in partnership with Beasley Esports and the Houston Outlaws. Also in partnership with the PAX Arena squad, which is where the broadcast will be found. The search for the next Rocket League team, Beasley Esports, owner of Overwatch Leagues, Houston Outlaws, announced the search for the next Rocket League team, a never before seen competition to find and sign the first Rocket League team, beginning with 2 open qualifiers and broadcast produced in tandem with PAX Online during the weekends of July 17th and August 7th. This event will celebrate the very best amateur, collegiate, and unsigned pro teams within the Rocket League community. Beasley Esports will narrow down its selection of the top 16 teams, followed by a Final Four set of best of X sets, similar to the RLCSX championships, which will all take place the weekend of August 21st and 22nd. The winning team will be awarded a contract worth up to $15,000 per month with Beasley Esports as the information's official entry into the Rocket League Championship Series, RLCS, this fall, which is to be assumed. Rocket League hasn't announced, or I should say Psyonix Epic haven't announced specific dates, but if the timeline continues as normal, it'll probably start August, September time is what people are assuming for RLCS 11. There's also been Esports Observer articles talking about how it's supposed to be around that time as well. What that is going to be, or when that is going to be, we still don't know the specifics. I'll let you guys know as soon as I do. Now, as for the format, there is going to be multiple open qualifiers, so there's additional chances for people to get in. Primarily, there's 2 open qualifiers, and the top 8 teams per qualifier advance to the finals. For each open qualifier, they are capping at 256 teams, and it is a double elimination competition played over the course of 2 days, which I do like. We've seen the issues with Intel World Open and how their scheduling has gone with trying to fit everything in. Having it over 2 days just makes it so you are getting the best results possible. People aren't having to wait an extended period of time if they're dropping from the upper bracket. So I'm a big fan of this already. Day 1 is all best of 5s. Again, also good. Best of 3s just give way too much upset potential. With 4 groups of 64 teams in each, where the top 4 teams per group, 16 teams total, will advance to day 2. After you get into day 2, everything will be a best of 7, and the top 8 teams will advance to the finals. As for the specific schedule, open signups are available as of yesterday on the 30th. It's crazy to think it's already July. And July 16th, registration will close for the first open qualifier. July 17th and 18th will then be the open qualifier 1, and then there will be another day where registration opens for qualifier 2, with a few weeks leading up to the registration closing for qualifier 2 on August 6th. August 7th through 8th will be the open qualifier for the second qualifier, and then the finals, as mentioned numerous times, will be August 21st and 22nd. 22nd is my birthday. Happy birthday early to me. I'm getting old. I hate this. As for the registration, they do have some specific rules that people need to follow in regards to signing up and everything else. And if you go into the specific qualifiers themselves, they do have more details about the brackets, the standings, and everything else. If you guys haven't used Smash GG, it's probably one of my favorite websites in regards to organizing and setting up tournaments. It's what I used for the Brawl in the past, and just seems a lot cleaner. There's also an event Discord linked in that Smash page as well, so if people want to go and check out that, or have questions for admins and all that kind of stuff, that is the place to do so. I'm actually a big fan of their format. I know they're relying on some very knowledgeable people in the Rocket League scene, CJ Link and of Raccoon, both stellar and probably some of the best tournament admins that we have in the Rocket League scene. So glad to see that they're bringing those people on, and I can understand why the format and everything is running the way that it is. It is handled very professionally. So I will take back some of the things I said in regards to the style and the format, and it feels really weird. If these teams want a really good path to signing up, this could be quite successful. I do think it's a little bit more difficult because there is always those times where people have a hot streak, but the fact that it's happening over multiple days, over multiple weeks, is and should provide you the most consistent roster. So as for the specifics about who can compete, when people are able to, who's banned, who's not banned, all the reasons for the Houston Outlaws, that is what the interview is for, which again, if you guys have made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. But here's an interview between myself and Michael White, who's the operations director of the Houston Outlaws. I have a lot of questions, not only from you guys, but also just ones that I've thought of, along with my Twitch chat. We try to do this collectively to make sure we tackled a lot of different angles. So again, massive shout outs to Michael White before we get into this interview for taking the time to sit down and chat, as we are, as a community, looking forward actually to another organization that is invested and interested into Rocket League. All right, everybody, welcome to the interview. We've got Michael White, Operations Director of Houston Outlaws, on the line. This man literally replied to a DM like minutes ago and then replied, came back, and now he's here and we're talking. So again, massive shout outs to Michael, and we're going to go by Mike just because it's a little bit less formal. You guys know how we do it over here. So Mike, greatly appreciate you taking the time. Before we get into all the specifics about Rocket League and what the heck you guys are doing, which is turning some heads, mine included, what is it that you do as an operations director of the Houston Outlaws?
Oh man, thank you for having me on. By the way, the better question is, what don't I do? That's honestly the better question.
You're wearing so many hats, huh?
Yeah, I honestly wear so many hats. My main thing is just making sure that the organization just pushes through and just continues to go forward, and that my main responsibility is make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. To make sure that everything is in line in regards to the process, even leading up to like the Rocket League announcement, earlier today, was just making sure that we had legal ready to go, the page ready to go, the website ready to go, like making sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. I've been with the organization since day one. I'm actually even before then as day zero, all the way back since August 2016, when I first got reached out to be a part of this process. And I love every minute of it. I've worn many different hats, worked at many different roles, and here I am as the operations director for Houston Outlaws and the new general manager of the Rocket League team.
The guy humbles himself, but let's be real honest, you're a big deal with the Houston Outlaws. That's what you're trying to say, which is fantastic. You've been around the block, man. It's awesome to hear. I have been around. You touched on it, obviously. Now, for those that are possibly unaware, obviously the Houston Outlaws have gone through some changes, right? They've kind of passed hands. Can you kind of speak to that in regards to, obviously, with the introduction to the Overwatch League and what your guys' involvement has been now that it is under the Beasley name as compared to some of the past, like Optic and Infinite?
Yeah, so actually, I want to kind of notate on something like that. So Infinite Esports was actually the original parent company of the Houston Outlaws. They also owned Optic Gaming before the sell to Immortals Gaming Club happened. great owners and everything. So when the sale happened, there was a little bit of small transitionary period, and then we found our ownership group in Beasley Media Group that came in and bought us in November of 2019. From there, we've had tremendous support from everybody at the Beasley Media Group, Beasley corporate area. They've been really involved with esports, making sure that we've had the tools that we need to succeed, from putting together the homestand back in February 2020, right before the country shut down, to then doing the Lone Star Challenge, which was a first ever exhibition game between us and Dallas Fuel that was also shown across TV stations across all of the state of Texas, to then even giving us resources to do the most wanted content creator search last year, and then also giving us the resources to expand into this new game, Rocket League.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. Rocket League. I mean, I have my obvious reasons for being involved in this game. I have reasons that I have talked at length on this channel about why Rocket League. But for your perspective and for the Houston Outlaws, what is it about Rocket League that has you guys interested as that kind of next lateral step?
So for us to expand into Rocket League, it has a massive fan base, a massive player base, has really great viewership in all the games it has, and not to mention, it's really big into collegiate campuses, top 3 game on collegiate campuses, as well as the fact that it's really big in high schools right now. And I think that the biggest thing is too is that, like, when people look at esports as a whole, like, they think of it as one single audience, when in reality it's kind of like more like sports, where the Overwatch League has a certain type of audience and the Rocket League scene has a different type of audience. And that there may be some overlap between the two audiences, but in reality they are their own individual audiences. So for us, it was just the aspect of taking what we learned from the Overwatch League and taking what we learned for the Houston Outlaws, and now applying that to the Rocket League scene, and hopefully expanding our fan base and expanding the player base with the team.
I give a lot of respect to that too, because it's not just that you guys are focusing on like the pro side. You're taking aspects of the over-encompassing storyline between Rocket League, which, yes, it is collegiate, yes, it is high school. There's deep roots, which I think a lot of people do overlook. People forget that, you look at the collegiate scene, it just increased its prize pool by like 300% recently. So it is growing, and it's part of the foundation. It's the start of some of the things that we're trying to do here in my area. Because I'm from the Midwest, we don't have a whole lot of esports things that exist here, which is kind of unfortunate, but it does start with collegiate. So it is awesome to see that expansion start to begin. And if we want to talk about expansion, I mean, what better way than to get into your guys' new project, which is the search, as it's been deemed. Before we get into that, I guess the best question I have is, in the original article, which I now am against because it gave me way too much wrong information, there is talks about how the starting of a new unnamed esports organization. Am I correct to assume that's just Beasley Esports, and that is going to be your guys' non-franchise name, or is it something entirely different that we have know about? I see your eyebrows moving here, man. I don't know what's going on, but I'm excited for this answer.
So you're actually incorrect. So it won't be Beasley Esports. Beasley Esports will be the parent company that owns the Houston Outlaws, but this will actually be a new professional team that's currently unannounced and will only be announced once the team has been signed.
You don't want to give me the exclusive, huh? I'm just kidding. I don't want you to get in trouble.
All I gotta say is, if you have some names, feel free to toss them my way. That goes for everybody listening right now. But
hey, everybody in the comments, if you want to name an esports team, now's your chance. Also, don't forget to sign up. Signups got launched yesterday. Make sure you guys go check that out. In this video, in the description, there will be everything you need to know about this as well as links to our man here, Michael, if you would like to go give him some love or harass him. Hopefully I don't harass you too much about some questions, because I'm sure they've got questions. But yeah, I'll give you the floor. The search, what's the intention? What's kind of the unconventional way that you guys are going about this? You mentioned, obviously, the way that you guys found content creators in the past, and this feels somewhat similar in origin, but obviously has a much more serious tone to it in the regard of, big contracts, all this kind of stuff with funding coming in. Why going around this route rather than the stereo route that I, brought up in my previous video with my initial concerns?
So the biggest thing here at Beasley Esports is that we're all about innovation. And one thing is, we always want to push the barrier. That's something I pride myself in a lot too. Just like how when, I previously kind of covered it beforehand when, we had the homestand last year and then the country shut down. And immediately after that, it was kind of like, what do we do? And instead of just setting ducks, we worked together with our counterparts in Dallas and created the Lone Star Challenge. And instead of just doing an exhibition game between Dallas and Houston Outlaws, we added some challenges behind it that gave the weight to the Battle for Texas more so, and then also created a TV show about it. Continuing that momentum into the most wanted content creator search, the same concept kind of goes. We could have went out and we could have, reached out to content creators and signed them to a 1-year contract, but instead, hey, let's do a search very similar to American Idol-esque, and let's give people the opportunity to put their hat in the ringer and quite literally live the dream. To be a professional content creator at that point. And we kind of wanted to do the same concept around this as well. I think the timing could not be any better, to be honest with you. With the first qualifier happening during PAX Online on July 17th to 18th, and then the second qualifier happening August 7th to 8th, and then the finals happening the 21st to 22nd. The World Championships just happened. There is a little bit of a roster mania going on right now in the scene where teams are shuffling around. So there is opportunity that, some teams or some players that may be left on the outside now have an opportunity to participate, come together, participate in this tournament, go through the qualifiers, and potentially be signed as a new professional team competing in the RLCS this coming up fall.
Yeah, I think that's a really important stake because of obviously the slight roster changes that are going on. That's being very nice about it because it's pure chaos if we're being honest. The ability to have a real trial with stuff on the line is something that can't be replicated. It is something that is super important. So giving that opportunity to kind of find and fine tune a roster that may be potentially kind of like a leftover 2.0 or whatever it may be, where it's like these guys are all good, but they're no longer on their team. They're trying to come together. Is a good way to go about it. I talk about obviously players that are possibly leftovers or otherwise, and I do expect still obviously, AAA talent. Is there any players that aren't allowed to play? I looked on the Smash page. I couldn't find it in the rules specifically. Are there certain players other than like, I assume, you're a pro player for a pro team already that's signed. You can't sign out, but is it North America only? Can Europe play? Like, how does it work out if you know those details?
Yeah, so I let me explain that here in a second because I want to go back and touch on that one point again. Is the other aspect behind this is too is that you mentioned the collegiate scene just had like a super big increase in the prize pool distribution. Right. Like, that was another reason why we wanted to do this search like this too, because there are some top collegiate teams that may be on the cusp of competing in the LCS, so we want to give those guys the opportunity too. Now, to answer your question you just asked me though, so this tournament is specifically for North American residents only, US only, in the continental US. Sorry, Hawaii. Sorry, Alaska. And the only teams that are, only players that are not allowed to compete in this are players that are currently signed to a professional contract competing in the RLCS as a registration. So as long as you are an unsigned player, not signed to another competitive team, you can participate in this tournament as a registration.
That really opens it up, man. That's a lot of people. I know you guys capped it at 256 teams, but I mean, when you put up, hey, 15,000 per month, I gotta ask, 15,000 per month, is that like split between the 3 players? Is there a coach that is going to be incorporated in that sub? Is that just like an all-encompassing, like, this is a flat amount per month that we're willing to allocate to a Rocket League team? How's that being split up?
Yep. So glad you asked that. So the winning team will be awarded a contract up to $15,000 per month that will be split between the 3 players on that team.
Okay. Intentions for a sub coach in the future, or is that something that you guys will talk about long term?
We are looking to have a coach long term. As of right now, the coach is not a part of the search, but we will be having a coach come this fall.
Awesome, man. The fact that you guys are, I think people still undervalue coaches. People don't really get to hear about their importance and what they do. And the fact that you guys are being able to not only initially find a team, and there may be for a lot of these teams that sign up, they may have a temporary coach that they'll advocate for, but the primary focus is obviously getting a solid roster fielded. So pretty good stuff in that regard. As for the actual overall, like, securing of the team, and after that all happens, right? You're talking like, RLCS is in fall. Let's do this thing. What is, I guess, your guys' next steps? Because obviously we know you guys want to find a roster for the RLCS, but what are some of the plans that you guys have long-term, just about Rocket League in general? It's a new invent. I still think there's a lot of there's a lot of room for improvement for content around the Rocket League scene. And I feel like your experience with a different esport, a franchise league, all that kind of stuff, has given you a different perspective than what a lot of the teams have right now in the game. Is there anything that you can talk long term with intentions or plans that you guys have for the Rocket League team?
Yeah, I can definitely talk about the long-term plays that we have for Rocket League. So, we want to instill upon the same culture that we've had, that we instilled upon with the Outlaws this year. The past few years we've anteed up. This year we're all in with them. We've got a new head coach coming in from the World Championship San Francisco Shock. We had Cool Matt Iorio be brought up to the general manager position of it. He built a amazing roster that's currently sitting at the top of the leaderboards there. So we want to build that same type of stardom and fandom with this Rocket League team, as well as like do a lot of content, long-term play, make sure that they have the tools that they need to succeed with. The team will not be moving to Houston. They will be flying. We will be flying them to Houston, do content. Could be some cross-pollination content with the Overwatch League team. Who knows?
I
But
look forward to that.
essentially, yeah, it should be very fun. But essentially, this is a very long-term play for us, and right now it's just kind of dipping our toes in the water, and then just seeing how the landscape is, and then from there assessing it, and just making sure that we do what we do best, and just have a fun time doing it, man.
I know. At the end of the day, I think people obviously, because there's a lot of seriousness, a lot of money being thrown around, people forget it's video games. Let's have some fun. So I'm glad that's definitely part of the motto and the mentality. If I get to watch some Rocket League players play Overwatch and Overwatch players play Rocket League and see who wins in their own bet, like in a 3v3, like I'm so down to watch stuff like that. I think it's really fun to see that cross pollination because, like you said, fan bases at the very beginning, although we all like esports and it's viewed as like an overarching bubble, it's definitely separated in its own categories. So I'm 100% with you there. Overall, man, I've got a bunch of more questions I could keep asking you. I'm gonna give you one final one and then kind of give you the floor. I have a big fascination about franchise leagues. I've been blessed to work with the Minnesota Rocker version 1 guys, who also obviously have some franchise background, and it's always interesting to pick their brain. I feel like it's almost inevitable in the future that Rocket League may go to a franchise league. I firmly believe that in long term that could be a thing. For you specifically, because you've been in that system, the franchise system, do you also possibly see that for Rocket League? And can you kind of talk in general for, I guess, a lot of people that don't know what a franchise league is, how it runs, how it functions, like what the purpose of it is?
So to give my honest opinion, I'm unsure if Rocket League will actually franchise. We've been in talks with Sonics only for the search, so I don't know what their long-term plans are. But I think that if anything, it's just going to be seeing how the landscape plays out over the next year or two or a couple years, and just from there they're going to reassess and just see what makes sense. I think in regards to Rocket League esports. Again, I don't want to speak for them because we have not had any conversations with them about that. The only conversations we've had with Sonics has been in regards to the search, and Cliff, Murdy, and Jacob have been very awesome in helping us with this. In regards to the franchise league system, to just kind of give a TLDR of it is, it's very similar to like a MLB, NFL, NBA franchise league system, where you have your guaranteed spot playing in the league, and in drastic comparison to like a European soccer league where you can be potentially relegated up and down. I think that both leagues have their benefits in regards to being in a non-franchise versus a franchise league, but I think that it just all depends upon what those benefits are, and I think that some leagues have different challenges than what other leagues do. But realistically, that's life and esports and sports in general, that every single thing has a challenge, and if anything, it's just overcoming that single challenge.
It's a little bit more difficult when something like the NFL has been around for a literal century and we're talking, a couple decades. So a little bit different in that, but we're still finding our way. I think we'll be all right in the future. But Michael, seriously, greatly appreciate you taking the time and the effort to sit down. I know you got a lot of stuff on the docket coming up here. So I'm personally looking forward to what the heck you guys have planned and some of this content you guys are talking about, because I honestly don't think there's enough from organizations. So seriously, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. Before we close this out, I want to give you the floor. If there's anything you want to say to people, if you want to advocate for stuff, speak your piece. Floor is yours, man.
Appreciate that, man. Honestly, we are very excited to enter this Rocket League space. We are going to Infinity Beyond with this search for the next Rocket League team. We hope that a lot of people get hyped up about this and, go to outlaws.gg/Rocket League to sign up now, and compete for the first qualifier on July 17th, 18th. Again, it's open to everybody, and just put your hat in the ring and potentially get the chance to live your dream.
Again, chat, if you guys want to check it out, links to everything talked about in this video, as well as the bracket, the format, sign-up pages, everything you need to know is in the description, including links to that website that Mike just brought up for us. So again, Mike, greatly appreciate you taking the time, man. And as always, an absolute pleasure.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Again, massive thank you to Michael White in sitting down and taking the time to talk about all things Rocket League, Houston Outlaws related, as well as what Beasley Esports is supposed to be doing. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. Again, glad we could clarify some of the information. I got to do better about that, and I'm just going to put myself on it about being willing to wait. Obviously, and not trying to provide excuses. I get caught up in trying to just grind out videos as quickly as possible with daily. And sometimes I need to realize it's okay to take a step back and just wait for some of this stuff to develop, like I've done with the suspension stuff and everything else. Usually you get better video and better content out of that, but in this circumstance, I kind of jumped the gun. So that's on me. That's my fault, and hope to do better with that moving forward. So with that said, if you guys do enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, notifications, all that fun stuff. This one has gone obviously quite a bit, so we'll see you in the next one. Peace.